If you're one of the 27 total white people who didn't benefit directly from this fake social construct of whiteness in America, then grab some popcorn and enjoy. If you got a picture of a slave owner on your wall who you're directly descended from, who you call Pop Pop, then you're not gonna like this at all. All these wonderful insights come from a book called Black as History or Black AF History by Michael Harriot. It's an incredible read, and essentially what it does is break down history from a lens that isn't whitewashed. And, for example, identifies Native American tribes by their actual names instead of kind of grouping them as a whole, and tells the truth about Black involvement in the founding of the country, the incompetence of the first white settlers, things like that. I don't know if y'all ever heard of the headright system, but it's really important to this story. It was created to address labor shortages in the colonies in 1618. By labor shortages, I mean the first settlers from Europe were ass. They were bad at everything. They couldn't grow crops, they couldn't feed themselves. Like incompetence to the point of cannibalism. That's how bad it got. What the headright system did was grant land to any of the settlers who had enslaved people, right? So not only were the enslaved people being sent over to help them, but they were given additional help. This program lasted until 1699, and each person who had enslaved people got 50 acres per person. Per person. Obviously, this was an incredible incentive for slave owners to go over to Africa or send ships on their behalf to steal people and bring them back here and put them to work and get all those acres of land for free. And this is where we hit a particularly ugly bump in the road when it comes to telling this story. Black people watching this, white people watching this, Hispanic people watching this, Asians, whatever. Everybody is in the back of their mind talking about, wait a minute, they didn't necessarily steal all those people. Didn't the Africans sell them to them? Time out, pause. This is one of the biggest myths that propagates throughout the retelling of the transatlantic slave trade, how it happened, how it extended for so long, and how it led to chattel slavery in the first place. When it's characterized as, oh, y'all sold your own people, there's some important aspects left out of that. For one, the slave trade in African countries before the interjection of European powers was not a gateway to chattel slavery. What's chattel slavery? It's when slavery is passed down from the mother to the child in perpetuity. Like, you know, when you sign a contract and it says in perpetuity and your rights are forever assigned to somebody else? In African countries, they were prisoners of war and they had slave debt to pay off and work off, but their child didn't belong to that person. That wasn't a thing. Y'all made that up. Like, that was purely an economic invention because it was convenient for slave owners who owned land. So that's a key difference here. None of them knew that they were selling their people into perpetual bondage for generations. Point two, there were instances where this exchange was taking place because they had already kidnapped somebody else. If you're a chieftain of a tribe in an African country, and these Europeans have stolen somebody who's super valuable to you, like your daughter, and they come to you like, oh, well, yeah, we'll give you your daughter back, but in exchange, you need to give us some of those prisoners of war you already have from like a neighboring kingdom or something like that. I mean, that's a no-brainer because they're not gonna be slaves forever. You're just swapping one POW for another, and they'll be good at some point in the future. You don't know what's about to happen to them down the road. Not quite the same thing as selling your people into slavery, is it? For example, the Mbangala in Angola and the Yamwezi in Tanzania were capturing people to exchange for like cloth and guns and alcohol. They saw it as a normal trade, not, hey, you give us this stuff and we'll give you forever prisoners. Slavery also wasn't racialized in Africa. It wasn't something that happens to you because you're black. Europeans did that. They assigned a race and then they added the Bible and religions on top of it to justify what they were doing to other people that were also human beings. For people who don't know how to season their food, even to this day, they're really creative when it comes to ways to commercialize evil. I'm not defending any forms of slavery. Slavery has existed in several civilizations for a very, very long time, but the form that it became is not the form that it was. It's an important distinction, and to claim that they're the same or that African chieftains sold their own people and they're the ones who are primarily at fault, that's intellectually dishonest. Fast forward a little bit, it's after the Civil War, and enslaved people are technically free now. Union General William Sherman declared that 400K acres would be reserved for settlement by newly freed enslaved people. These plots were up to 40 acres. It's where 40 acres and a mule came from. Y'all follow me so far? Enter President Andrew Johnson after Lincoln got his cap peeled back. Yes, that Andrew Johnson. First ballot Hall of Fame evil white people, front row tickets to hell with gasoline draws on Andrew Johnson. He blew all that shit up and gave all the land back to Confederate landowners in 1865. Congress tried to give some of it back with the weak ass Southern Homestead Act in 1866, but that didn't quite work out. As usual, racist white people got cooking, and that shit didn't fly. All of this resulted in most free enslaved people going back to what's essentially slavery in order to survive. It was called sharecropping. That's why in the movie Sinners, all those people were working in the field. They weren't slaves. They were just doing slave labor because they had no choice. This perpetuated a system of drastic racial inequality that's only been exacerbated by all the acts of mass white insecurity since. White people bombed, burnt down, or ran a highway through every settlement we've established since, made sure we never got a grasp of any significant political power, and co-opted all our black leaders into conservative Christian capitalists, the 3 C's of economic subjugation. We're done with the history section. In the modern day, I'm not gonna lie, I understand why the average white person, even after hearing all of this, is like, yo, I didn't do that shit though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't the reason that your people were held back for so long. But Bradley, Chad, that's irrelevant. I feel you. As far as you're concerned, nothing you've ever done has been part of subjugating black people, right? But that's never been the point. You've worked hard, right? You lifted yourself up from your bootstraps, or is that even a thing? We got to stop saying that. You earned what you have. You went to school. You got jobs. You grinded, just like I did, to get to the point I'm at now. I understand that. What our point is that regardless of whether you see it or not, you benefit from the wealth of your forefathers that has been passed down to you. If you have slave owners in your ancestry anywhere, you have benefited directly from the wealth that they stole from us. Why did you start off in the suburbs instead of the projects? For those of us who are black like me, who have spent a lot of their time in the suburbs, it's because our parents grinded hard to make that the case. But in the case of a lot of y'all's parents and grandparents and great grandparents, that stolen wealth set them up on a plantation. And whether they blew that money at some point or not, they were still white. They still had societal benefits that allowed them to climb up again and again and again. That benefit almost can't be calculated. Because of slavery, white people are far enough ahead of black people that the gap amounts to trillions of dollars. Like, enough to pay off our national debt. Funny phrase, actually, because this is your national debt. This is your international debt. The children of enslaved people have spread all over the world, and they're leading other countries, other communities that are entirely black or mostly black. And some of these developing countries are still struggling. The legacy of colonialism stretches on forever. It infects every level of our socioeconomic ladder here in America and always has. The reason these people you claim are welfare babies and always reaching out with their hand out and need the white man. I've seen shit like this on Twitter. The reason all this is happening, it stems back to what happened hundreds of years ago, what happened decades ago during Jim Crow. What's happening right now through this racist ass administration that's in here. So to drive my point home one more time, if you're white and you have slave owners anywhere in your ancestry, like some of us have in our ancestry due to sexual assault, this is on you, bro. It's on you to continue to have this conversation, to hear this conversation. You're not going to not hear about reparations at any point, ever. We're never going to stop talking about it. In my episode about FBA, Foundational Black Americans, informally led by Tariq Nasheed, I mentioned that we're never going to get reparations. And if we do, we'd squander it. The scammers would grab it. I didn't even mean that as a shot to black people and our ability to be good with money. A lot of black people took it that way, and that wasn't my intention. But it's reality. And that's also a spinoff of what's been done to us. The reason we have so many people who are perceived as scammers and actual scammers, this is a side effect of having every community we've ever built be bombed out and destroyed. Having every educational program that benefits us yanked and defunded. Being disenfranchised at every turn. This is what you get. If you're a white person who's made it to the end of this video, you're a trooper, and I salute you for being able to digest the truth. Your pop is evil. I'm not telling you what to do, but you might want to take that picture down.